All right, here we go. All right, we're gonna stay on schedule, and we're gonna get you what you need today. This part right here is probably gonna be a little bit hard for some people in the room. I was coached by a person that taught us to find our unique ability. Okay? And everything in your life centered around you finding this unique ability. Your company is structured around your unique ability, and his point was, when you are in your unique ability and you are playing in your unique ability, then time is going to lose all meaning. The world is going to recognize and reward you, right? You're going to have so much fun. You're going to make money, and you're going to get referrals and reputation. Once you find this one thing that you're good at, then your whole life is going to take off. And I want you to think about the artist or the entertainer or the athlete. Now, I was in Houston this past 2 days teaching, and we kind of have an open forum where people can come, and we kind of have a dinner and dynamic exchange. We have appetizers, and it's less formal, and it's more coaching. And Matthew Knowles showed up. Now, you may not know who Matthew Knowles is, but you would certainly know his daughter. Beyonce is his daughter. She's worth $1 billion. And he lives in Houston, and somebody said, you need to come meet Coach Burt. And so he strolled right into my coaching session, sat down on the front row, and I'm like, that's Beyonce's dad. Right? And guess what he did? I'm sitting there coaching. He takes out notes. He's taking notes. Come to the end. And here was the coolest part of the whole thing. He reached in his back pocket, pulled out his business card, and said, you and I need to know each other. Call me.
Wow. Awesome.
Now, so that was good because I had apparently provided enough value for him to go, this little dude can help me. This little bald-headed dude can help me, right? And here's when you know when you're really becoming a person of interest is you don't have to ask people for their business card. They give it. They want you. They say, hey, I need to talk to you. That makes sense? I need to know you. Well, his daughter has a talent, and what I was interested in talking to him about is I can recognize certain talents in my daughter. That's 7. Now, I want to know, how hard did they practice? Who coached them? What did they do? How did she become this person? How did you raise her? What schools did she go to? Because he was very well spoken. He's a professor, and he writes books, and he's he's got a diverse background. You could tell he was a sharp dude. You follow what I'm saying? And he's produced sharp kids. So my point was, and when you think about this unique ability, most people of interest have a very specified skill set, and we see it when we see an artist or an entertainer. When you see them in their element, and you're like, oh, that's it right there. They're doing it. I want you to think that you have a unique ability just like the artist and the entertainer does, or the athlete. You just haven't found it yet. So when you haven't found it, you just kind of go out into the market and you get a job. Okay? And you may not, like I notice all the time, like Chelsea's not in here so I can brag on her because she gets nervous when I brag on her. But she's very talented at a lot of things. I put her in charge of my kids' academy. She could run that. Then I said, no. You don't need to be running my kids' academy. You need to be servicing my top customers because all the customers really liked her. Then I finally said, no. You don't need to be doing that. You need to be running the whole company because you're great with math and profitability and numbers. And I trust you. And so what I kept saying to her is, this is a success trap for you. See, when you're doing something that's good and you're good at it, and you get bogged down in doing it, you could actually be really good at it, but it's a trap. And the trap is you're over here doing this when your true unique ability is this. This is what you need to be doing. That is just a trap. Everybody see where I'm going with this? Yes. Okay? So I kept saying to her, that's a success trap. Like, I know you can be that, but that ain't what you're really good at. This is your unique ability. Now, how can I see a unique ability in a person that they can't see it in themselves? Can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. Here's the deal. Your unique ability was manufactured in you. Okay? I'm a person of faith. I believe it was manufactured in you by the manufacturer. Okay? And you were factory installed with your unique ability. That's my personal belief. Okay? Now, I guess what I'm saying is, my unique ability or primary skill was detected very early in life by one of my coaches. If you've ever heard me tell the story, my Little League baseball coach said to me at 6 years old, son, one of these days you're going to be a great coach. See? she saw something in me that I didn't see in me. Everybody with me here? So when I ask people, what do you think your real talents are? What do you think most adults tell me? I'm like, what do you think your primary skill is? When I say primary skill, this is the number one thing you're great at. Like out of everything you could do, this is it. This is what you're put on planet Earth to do. This is you in your unique ability area. When you do it, right? Like this is my unique ability right now, what I'm doing with you. I can do a lot of things, but I love doing this. Okay, I didn't get into like midnight last night. I got like 4 hours sleep. Okay, but when you tell me, look, there's people and there's energy and you get to coach, I'm like, I'm in. I don't care if I'm tired, halfway dead. It don't matter, right? Now, but if you said you got to do this all day, then I'd be like, oh, do I really have to do that all day? So the whole goal is to do what? I think we'll make the most money when we are playing in our unique ability area. But here's the deal. If you have employees or team members, they need to be in their unique ability areas. And most people have not found their unique ability. Right? So part of becoming a person of interest is finding this one thing. This, I call it a primary skill. Okay? So you become known for one thing. You become known for a primary skill. Where does that skill come from? It comes from finding it, then refining it over a long cycle of time. Now there's a book out there called Talent is Overrated. And I had an interview with this guy once, and what he basically said is most of the most talented people in the world that you think are talented, Gates, Tiger Woods, Jerry Rice, it's not that they were more gifted than other people. They had more practice than other people. Tiger Woods was on a golf course at 7 months old. His dad retired from his primary job. So his dad, unlike most parents, had a lot of time to spend with his son. So he took his son to the golf course. And so by the time he was 18 years old, he had literally been on a golf course practicing for 18 years. Now, how good would you be if you found your gift and did it for 18 straight years? Of course. You'd be world class. You'd be Tiger Woods. And that's the argument this dude makes in the book. Bill Gates went to work with his dad at 11. So when you see these big time people, like I started coaching at 15. I'm 43. This is what I've been doing for 28 years. You understand what I'm saying, where I'm going with this? So to me, but if you ask me what most people struggle with, they haven't found their gift. I mean, my wife didn't find hers till she was 30, 31 years old. She has the gift of hospitality. She starts coming out here to prepare for these things 2 or 3 days in advance. Cooking, she cooks the food many times herself. She prepares everything. She loves it. Then she comes home and she says, oh my gosh, it almost killed me. And I say, yeah, but you loved it, which is why you're still doing it, right? She said, you're right. She loves it. So here's the deal. She didn't find her gift till she read my book, This Ain't No Practice Life. She was selling cell phones for Verizon, and she hated it. And she was just messing around in the world. And then she's like, oh, I have these talents, but I didn't even know I had them until she got pushed a little bit. So for you, you become known for one thing, your primary skill. And I had a speaker tell me this when I first started. He's like, you got to pick a lane, Bert. You got to pick a lane. You're talking about everything. You can't be an expert at everything. And I'm telling you, I didn't listen to him. If they called me and said, can you talk about teams? I'll be there. Can you talk about leadership? Yes. Can you talk about sales? Absolutely. And what happened is he was right. I didn't know what my lane was. I didn't become known for one thing, okay? So I'm going to ask you, what are you going to be? What's your primary skill? Then you become so valuable that you're in demand because of that skill. People are chasing you because you have this skill, okay? And so my question is, what is your primary skill? Now, here is what a primary skill looks like. It's some unique skill set. Why is it unique? Okay, now when I'm explaining to people about Jonathan, Jonathan has a unique background, military, intel officer, you understand what I'm saying? Studied brain science. Like, I don't say he's just a marketer, because there's a lot of marketers. I say this dude has a unique background, unique skill set. That makes him unique. Everybody with me? If you have a common background, okay, and education is not just formal, by the way. Like, who have you studied under? Like, I studied under Covey for 7 years. You see what I'm saying? Like, he deeply influenced my methodology, the whole person theory. That gives me a competitive advantage today versus other people who don't know that. So part of your uniqueness is, who have you studied under? Who have you been mentored by? What have you been through in your life? What kind of breakdowns and knockdowns have you been through that has prepared you for this? Like, that's what makes you unique, is your past. Think of it this way. I'm actually paying you for your past. Your past is helping me build my future. Your past breakdowns, your past screw-ups. Like I'm paying for all of your experiences. Okay?
That's good.
Which makes you really, really unique. So it's some unique skill set. What makes you unique? Your past. Your past makes you unique. Found and refined over a long cycle. So think of it like this. First, I find this primary skill. And it is not generic. Like I have people say, well, I'm an insurance person. No. I'm a realtor. I'm a mortgage originator. I'm this. I'm like, no. That's not a primary skill. A primary skill is I can take something incredibly complicated and make it simple. Right? A primary skill is I can connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Okay? A primary skill can be picked up like this and taken somewhere else. It's not industry specific. Like we're coaching a dude right now who works in energy and gas. And he came to me the other day and said, I feel like I got a ceiling. Like I feel like I'm just stuck. There's nowhere for me to go. Like I'm working with the #1 company in the world. Where am I supposed to go? And I said, you're looking at this all wrong. You have a skill set. Now let's figure out what that is. You could take that skill set out of the oil and gas industry and take it over here. There's somebody else who would pay you for that skill set. You just don't know what your skill set is. You haven't defined it. Everybody see that? I always ask myself, if I walked in tomorrow and said I'm done coaching, what would I do? What could I do? Right? I could join Nate's team and sell insurance. And I guarantee you, I can make $1 million a year selling insurance. Right or wrong?
You're signed up.
Okay? Now, here's the deal. I guarantee you I could take my skill set and I could sell real estate and I could sell mortgages and I could sell insurance. Everybody with me?
Of course.
Because my real skill set ain't the coaching piece. It's the ability to communicate and connect to people and get people excited to take action on something. So I could do that in any industry. You got to start thinking that you have a skill set that you can pick up and take anywhere in the world. If I said tomorrow when you walked into work, they fired you and they said, and you could never go back to your industry, where would you take your skill set to?
Anywhere.
You should be able to take it anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right or wrong?
Right.
It's not specific to an industry. It is unique to you. And somebody would value it, which is my coaching to this dude. I'm like, look, man, if you got an operational mind and you can solve any problem in the world like you're telling me you can, you should be able to take that skill set to anybody in the world. Now, the question is, who would write you the biggest check for that skill set? Who would pay you the most money for that skill set? Who would compensate you at the highest level? But you don't even know what you have. Okay? So you haven't found this part yet. Okay? Now notice this. It's used to solve a problem for another person. Your skill is only valuable if it does what? Solve a problem. Okay? It adds energy when participating. When you're doing it, man, you're excited. You're enthusiastic. You're having fun. The world rewards you for this. You could be referred to as unique ability. This is how you build demand, is you first build a skill set. Okay? You build a skill set that solves a major problem. How many of you think that you've totally figured out what this is for you? And you could define it to me? Really articulate it. Remember, it's not a profession. Like I'm in this, or I do this, or I do this. It's a very specific skill. Okay? So that's what we got to do. Now, once we have this skill, here's the cycle. I write about this in my new book, Single Digit Millionaire. Okay? It's a shameless plug right there for you to buy it while you're here. Now,
Can I just pay for shipping?
yeah, you can pay for shipping. We'll ship it to you. Okay? Now, here's the point. This is the #1 question I get asked. How did you go from a high school basketball coach to doing this? And I get asked that everywhere I go. And so I got asked so many times, I'm like, why don't I just put it into a formula? And I'll go back to exactly how I did it. And here is the formula that I talk about in the book. Okay? I first found my primary skill. That's this piece, which is coaching people through the whole person. Okay? Building confidence. Then, once you have your primary skill, it's used to solve a problem just for one person. You don't have to solve a problem for 100 people. You first just solve a problem for one person. And that one person does what? Goes and tells another person. It's like, hey man, this dude right here can solve this problem for you. Okay? One tells many, and what begins to happen is because you got such a strong skill, you begin to build demand. Now, the #1 way people grow their business, or at least what they tell me, I'm like, how's your business growing? Is they say referrals. My business is growing through referrals. Okay? And I always ask, well, how many referrals are you getting? And they're like, well, that's a good question. I thought, well, you just told me that's the #1 way you get new customers. How many referrals you get out of every deal? So, but here's what happens. A referral is just when another person says that you were really, really good and you moved a statistic. You moved something in my life. It's when great people tell other great people how great you were. Okay? But what happens is, in the old days, I didn't have any marketing. I had a website and that was it. Like I literally would just go out into the world and speak, and from every speaking engagement, I'd get 6 speaking engagements. Does that make sense? I'd go in and I'd be good, and I tried to be real good, and these 4 people would walk up to me and say, hey, we want you to speak at this. And that's literally how my business grew, because I didn't even understand the whole marketing thing. Okay? So the way you once you know what your skill is, then it's like, how do we build demand for that skill? And this is really where Jonathan's going to come in through his intelligent marketing system, is we really want to distribute our special to what? The world. Yep. And everybody on planet Earth needs to know there's nobody in the world better than Denise at this one thing. She's the best. And everything you do in marketing, he'll show you how the brain receives information, positions you as this expert. So that's like, hey, this is the #1 dude in the world. Okay? This is the leading authority on this, okay? Around skill. Now go back and look at all the people and tell me they didn't have a primary skill. Zuckerberg was a coder, yes or no? Cardone was a salesperson. Milet was great at building teams. If you look at all the big time people, they all have a primary skill. Now, these skills may have grown into secondary skills. Like take a guy like Cardone. His #1 skill is selling. Now he has learned to be a promoter. So really promotion is a stronger skill than his selling skills. Okay, so that was like a secondary skill. I have to become a better promoter. I'm a coach. Okay, so I have to learn how to promote better. I need that secondary skill. But first, the reason people are hiring you is what? This right here. So you build demand. The marketing communicates to the world how good you are. Next thing you know, if you really want to do it, is you got a whole network of people coming to you. You don't have one person coming to you. You got hundreds of people coming to you. Or thousands of people coming to you. Now remind me again why they're coming.
You have some unique ability.
Okay, John Bell, are they just coming to you because they can do a title? No, because anybody can do that. So if you can define that, if you can define out of all the people out there that do closings, this is what we do. This is our unique skill set. This is our unique ability. And this is what separates us from everybody else that's out there. Okay, now let me give you a few examples. I'm going to use some real estate examples because we got some real estate folks in here. I coached an agent once, and this was her claim. I can get more money per square foot on new home construction than any other real estate agent in Nashville, Tennessee. That was her claim. I said, how do you do it? Because what am I looking for? What's your unique ability? Now you told me what you do. How do you do it? She said, well, this is simple. I go out to LA all the time. And out in LA, they do open houses very different than they do in Tennessee. In LA, they have parties. They turn an open house into an event. In Nashville, we put out 2 Otis Spunkmeyer chocolate chip cookies. And a sign in the yard with a balloon on the sign that says open house on Sunday. Okay? So here's what this girl would do. She would go out to LA and she would see how they would do these parties, and she would come back to Nashville and host these big parties. And they would, instead of getting 5 people through there, she'd get 300 people through there. And what? It's exact. She created experience. So her unique ability was really taking a concept, I would call it a gift of association. She was able to associate. If I take this from here and bring it back to Nashville, okay, this makes us a little bit different. Okay, now that's a unique ability. It's like I can see something, pick it up, put it over here. Okay, that's a unique ability. Okay, so once you start happening, then you have this demand. Then you start building networks. Now what happens is you wake up and you got 300 people in your network. And you're going to hear me use a word that people of interest create structures of exchange. Now, what do I mean by this? There's a law that says the value of any network is exponentially grown by each individual participant that is added to the network. Oh, does that make sense? So if Lisa's in my network and there's an X value that she brings to the table based on her skill set, that's a value. Okay? Now what if she also gives me that X value plus her emotional support? What does that mean? She's there, she supports me, she believes in me, she picks me up when I'm down, right? But what if she gives me her value, her X value, which is her primary skill, plus her support, plus she introduces me to all of her networks? Now, and I'm able to prosper because of her networks, how much more valuable is she now? A little bit more valuable or a lot more valuable? People of interest create networks, and then they create structures of exchange. Everybody see this? Okay? And I've noticed this is the big missing structure for a lot of people. Is you have a primary skill. You are not known for that skill. You got a small network of people. You do not let those people exchange with each other. Your value goes up when they can exchange with each other. You become more of a person of interest because you're connecting, right? Now, I was in a room yesterday with two dudes that managing $6 billion of money. Two financial advisors managing $6 billion. And here's what I said. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what can I do to create value for them? I've been wanting to do a night here at the lodge called Wealth Can't Wait. Okay? It's a concept where we come in and we talk about how you build long-term wealth. So I'd like to take that little concept, and I'd like to do it in Dallas with Nate. I'd like to do it here at my lodge. And I said, hey, you two dudes can come to Tennessee. I'll introduce you to some folks. We have a nice dinner, and we talk about building long-term wealth. Right? Now, the value to them is they're getting introduced to new people, right? Which is going to drive up my person of interest score to them, okay? Because I'm opening my network up to them. And in turn, I'm going to say, hey, why don't you introduce me to some of them rich people you got in Houston? Let's have dinner in Houston too, right? Here's the deal. What happens is we start exchanging networks. Next thing you know, now we've got structures of exchange. The cruise I did last weekend was nothing more than a structure of exchange. It just happened to be on a cruise ship. Everybody see that? Yes. This house is a structure. When I take people on that plane with me, it's a structure. Okay? I just want you to get this because a lot of people don't understand what I'm saying. If you open your networks to me and I can prosper because of your network and I bring value to your network that you don't currently have, that's a win for both of us. Okay? And that's what happens here. Okay? Your network becomes a tribe of people. The tribe then exchanges with each other. Then at some point you're forced to figure out, how do I scale this concept? How do I take this concept global? Okay? But none of this happens if we don't find what? Because if you don't find this, there is no demand. And if there is no demand, there is no network. And if there's no network, there's nothing to exchange. There's nothing, you don't bring anything to the table. So see, I want you to think about this. This is the way you move the ball down the field. So I want to take a second right now, and I want you to tell the person beside you what you think your true unique ability is. And here's the deal. It cannot be generic. I don't want to hear, well, I'm a good person. Or, I love when people interview with me. And what's your number one skill? I'm a people person. Okay? Hey, the 70s called. They need some of the phrases back. Because you can't say that in 2020 and get a job. You need a very specific skill set. Okay? So I want you to tell the person. And if you don't think it's strong enough, just tell them, I don't think it's strong enough, man. It's not compelling enough. And I want you to tell them also, what problem does your skill set solve? And for whom? Who would pay you the biggest check for your skill set? Okay, what's the problem you solve? What is it? Who wants it? Okay, so take a second right now and just see if you think you got this, because this is the very first part of the whole person of interest discussion.
What problem does it solve? What was the second thing?
For whom would pay you a big check for that problem? How many people found that to be? How many people found that to be a little bit difficult?
No, Lisa's awesome.
Okay. How many classes did you have in school on finding your unique ability?
0.
Yeah.
Every day on the playground.
Okay.
That's good. He said every day on the playground.
And listen, I went to college for nine years. Okay. Like 360 hours of college credit. And I had not one course in finding what made me unique in the world. I had no course in how to package what made me unique. And no course in how to sell what made me unique. Everybody see that?
Yep.
This is the ball game, man. This is what we got that's special. This is how we package it. This is how we sell it. Okay, so I want you to think of this as we wind down this session. You have a unique past. That unique past has created some type of unique skill set or ability in you. Because your ability is so good and so strong, there is now demand for you in the market. When you are operating in this area, you have an energy and an attractiveness about you that people can sense. And they want to associate. Okay, this afternoon we'll talk about you becoming a person of advancement. People get a feeling of increase when they're in your presence. Okay? When they get that feeling about you, guess what they're going to do? They're going to come from all over the world to get it. There's going to be a demand for you like you can't imagine. Okay? And when I'm coaching people, a lot of people hadn't found their special. And if they have found it, they hadn't figured out how to package it. And they definitely haven't figured out how to sell it. It's one thing to write a book. It's another thing to know how to sell a book. It's one thing to have a great idea. It's another thing to know how to sell it and communicate that idea. So what's missing is one of these key components. Okay? And back in the old days when I wrote the book Zebras and Cheetahs, part of the concept of the book is a zebra looks different than every other animal in the animal kingdom. Right? Like part of that book was like, how do you find your uniqueness? Well, I think really unique people are people of interest. It's like, man, that person has a skill set that I would really like to have. Like he or she is really good at something. So remember, you're not a financial advisor. You are a person based on your unique past that has a very unique skill set that is helping people do something very unique. Everybody with me here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and once you know this one thing, now it's like, okay, now this is what we're going to go sell to the planet, because there's a lot of demand for it. The reason I love the concept of Pray Drive I talk about is because you could put me in any room in America and Pray Drive is relevant.
Yep.
It's relevant to an operations person. It's relevant to a nurse. It's relevant because everybody has a Pray Drive in them. Most people has not been activated. So when they say, what are you going to talk about? Like tomorrow I'm going to do something for a charity. And it's like, what are you going to talk about tomorrow with these people? Because they're trying to raise some money. I'm going to talk about Pray Drive. Because Pray Drive is associated with everything on planet Earth.
Yep.
Okay? That's why I love the concept. So when I said I want to be known as the #1 leading authority in the world on this, because nobody else is talking about it except me. That's why I'm chosen. Something unique. Something that I can codify. Something that I can master. Now, what if I'd been a losing basketball coach for all those years? What if I rolled in and said, look, I lost more games than any coach in the state of Tennessee, but I'm here to teach you how to win.
You turn that around.
My unique past. See, it's so much better when I can say championship coach, 15-time author, okay, 10x speaker. You everybody see that? Now I'm building my cred, and that cred will get you indoors, okay? And I'm going to ask you later, what's your elevator? 10x was an elevator for me. 10x elevated my brand. It elevated me personally to an international audience, okay? And it gets me in a lot of doors, okay? So I'm going to ask you, how do you find your elevator? What's your elevator that can take you up there? Okay? All right, I think we had a pretty good morning. You guys agree? Yes. Okay, so thank you for being coachable. Thank you for showing up. Okay, it's time for a little bit longer break, so we got about a 15-minute break here. And then Jonathan is going to get started on coaching you. So let's take a short break, and then we'll come back, and we'll get going on some of the marketing pieces.